with Stan Fox and Eddie Cheever. Stan Fox, low down, appears to lose control and go across the track up toward the outer wall and strike Stan Fox. And strike Eddie Cheever, I'm sorry. It's Fox going diagonally across the road and striking Cheever, who was running along the outside. The trouble began in rows 4 and 5, and then because of the debris and bouncing tires, it involved Gilles de Ferran, who was in row 7, and Bachelard, St. James, and Guerrero, who were back in row 10.
And Sam, something caused that car 91. Just watch it as you look down low there. And you'll see it. It just makes a right-hand turn. Now just watch it on the right there. Purple car. What he did is I don't think he got touched or anything. He lost the rear end a little bit to the right. The car hooked. It immediately made a right-hand turn and right straight into the wall. Of course, that's what we're really worried about with Stan Fox the most. He really hit the wall head on.
Yeah, took the front of his Renard off. Looked like it may have been Cheever, though it might have been Fox. Got into the grass, lost the back end, then turned up in the wall and started this melee here at Indianapolis. The caution is on now. Now tonight, Sybil Shepherd stars as Stormy Weathers on the ABC Sunday night movie. And tomorrow, Roger Moore in a world premiere movie, The Man Who Wouldn't Die. Go to the movies with ABC tonight and tomorrow at 9, 8 Central Time. The field circles behind the pace car. Let's go to Jerry Punch.
We're in the Danny Sullivan pit, and Ziggy, Paul Harkis, the crew chief, what's Danny's situation? I understand he got struck in the head with some debris.
Yeah, he said he got hit in the helmet by flying debris. He thinks he's okay, but he's not quite sure about the one of the front tires. The right front tire seems to be a little bit of a problem. We may try and bring him in and change that before it goes green. He's afraid that he might get a puncture if it stays out there once it does go green.
That's Danny Sullivan concerned about a possible right front tire going down, Paul.
We'll be frantically checking all the cars. There was a lot of debris out there. It could affect the race. We'll be back.
The difference between winning and losing a championship isn't anything big. Usually you can measure it in tiny fractions of an inch. That's why every IndyCar champion out here drives on Goodyear Eagles. In a sport driven by precision, Goodyear gives us one less thing to worry about.
Goodyear, #1 in racing, #1 in tires.
I've tried different cars and different engines, but I think I'll stay with Goodyear.
The 79th running of the Indianapolis 500 on ABC's Wide World of Sports. Brought to you by Valvoline, the #1 choice of America's top mechanics. Goodyear, #1 in tires. Buick and your local dealers. Remember Buick, the new symbol for quality in America. And cold-filtered Miller Genuine Draft, making the world a very cool place.
We're still under yellow at Indianapolis. In the pits, they work on Gilles de Ferran's car. He's out of the car. You saw him actually drive this terribly damaged car all the way around. They're counting on these slow laps and extensive caution period to maybe get that car repaired. Let's go to Gary Gerald.
And here's another driver involved, Eric Bachelard, your crew working on your car. From your seat, could you have any idea what happened?
I was too far away, so I just suddenly I could see Cheever was in the wall and there was parts flying all over the track, and I was more a victim of that because there was a one wheel flying and hit my front right, so all the front right of my car is damaged, so they're gonna fix it now, and I should be able to restart, but I hope the car is gonna be set up properly again.
Well, let's swing over here. Thank you, Eric. Walter Payton, of course, your first time involved now as an IndyCar owner in the Indy 500, and here we are in the opening lap watching your crew dig into your checkbook. It can't be a very comforting feeling.
Well, that's all the part of racing, because you never know what's going to happen. An accident into the first turn, wheel comes off and it goes in the air and comes down and hits us, but we'll still get back into the race.
Appreciate your time, Walter. Let's check in now with Jerry Punch.
How important is experience here at Indianapolis? Well, Danny Sullivan drove through that debris today. He thought he felt something a little bit strange with the right front tire. They were trying to decide whether to pit or not. Well, Danny said, I'll make the call. I'm going to come in. And here's what they found. A tiny sliver had been sliced out of the inside of the right front tire. Now, it's not flat right now, but by the time the green flag waved, this tire would have leaked out enough to go flat completely, and Danny would have been in the wall. What a call from an experienced driver. Paul?
Well, great call, Danny Sullivan. There he is.
You know, Paul, something people ought to try to remember about carbon fiber is half the weight of aluminum, but twice the strength of steel. And even though it looks very small to the people, it cuts like a knife.
You know, it's funny, we talked about how inexperienced the field is. In 1992, if you totaled up all the number of years of experience of all 33 drivers, you had 262 years of experience. Less in 93, less last year, and finally this year, 129 years only. What does it mean? The inexperience may have been part of all this, but the other side of it is there hasn't been an accident like this for several years, and it's as if a whole cycle might be starting again. The drivers who have never been in an Indy 500 have now tasted what used to be an old tradition, which is first lap crashes.
I hope that's not true. Buddy Lazier lost it on the first lap in 91. Last multiple was 88 when Brayton, Guerrero, and Bettenhausen all got together. Here's a Valvoline rundown after 5 laps, and everything but the first turn, of course, run under yellow. But Scott Goodyear was able to sweep across and pick up the lead. And the pole sitter, Scott Brayton, faded on the start. Michael Andretti got around and lined up behind Arie Luyendyk in 3rd place. Then Gugelmin, Villeneuve, Pruitt, Vassar, and we take you on down through the entire field at the conclusion of 5 laps, still under yellow. We will keep track of all of the drivers involved in that accident. You've already seen that Gilles de Ferran is back in the pits. They're trying to get his car going, and we will keep track of things at the medical center here. We have very good communications. We don't want to do anything until we know exactly what the conditions of everybody is. Let's go back to Gary Gerald.
Paul, you mentioned Gilles de Ferran out of the car, still with the helmet on. I understand, Gilles, that this was one of those cases where you also were just a totally innocent victim.
I mean, I saw the incident quite early on the corner, so I slowed down very early and went to the inside to make sure nobody hit me in the back. And from the smoke, one wheel came bouncing off and hit the car. I mean, there was little I could do.
We're nearly 12 minutes now into this yellow situation. Your crew continues to work. You have the helmet on. Obviously, it looks like you want to get back out here and run some.
Oh, sure. I want to do as many miles as I can do, and we'll see if we can fix the car. If we fix the car and the car is safe, we'll continue. Otherwise, there'll be little point.
Well, we're glad you're safe. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Gary, Gilles was so far away from the incident, he'd driven way down on the apron. I thought he was leaving the track altogether in an effort to get out of that.
I think it's pretty obvious, too, why it's so important to start up front and why they qualify so hard. Guys like Scott Goodyear in the front group don't want to be in accidents. Of course, everybody doesn't want to be in the accidents, but it shows you that there is a difference.
You look down on this giant speedway from the Goodyear blimp floating overhead. Captain John Moran is at the helm of the Goodyear blimp. It is the blimp Spirit. And the indications are that the track has been cleaned and that we may go back to green flag racing, actually the restart of the race, within 1 lap. We'll keep an eye on the pace car and the signals from there.
Paul, you talked during the pre-race show about how to expect the unexpected, and Bobby, how open this field really was. Well, now it's even more open than ever. Fortunately, a couple of the favorites were not affected there. Bobby Rahal and Paul Tracy were right in the middle of it, but as far as we know, did not suffer any damage. We'll watch for them to move up.
Sam, we said this was going to be an exciting race, but we didn't want this type of excitement, did we?
Exactly. They were almost in your lap, Bobby.
Bobby, as they roll past you, that debris could have been critical in causing damage to other cars. Do you see anything there?
Well, Paul, I don't see it. You got to remember that carbon fiber is so small. But, you know, just imagine every one of these drivers is worried about it. It's not what they got going through the accident. It's what they even got coming around the next time. Did they run over some little sliver? They're all trying to feel, do they have a tire that's going slowly flat? That's a very serious thing here.
Well, the United States Auto Club and the Speedway crews did a great job of getting the track clear so very quickly. 8 laps are in the record book, all of those except for the first straightaway under yellow. And now the pace car has accelerated. The field now comes under the control of Scott Goodyear, the leader of the race. Second time that he's led the Indy 500. He led twice for 5 laps in '93. Pace comes up. Green light winks on the main straightaway. Now single file back to the green. And Arie Luyendyk immediately starts a challenge on Goodyear. Michael Andretti is 3rd. Scott Brayton is 4th, and Luyendyk sweeps across the front. Look at the tremendous power of that Menard engine as he begins to pull away.
Look at the smoke coming out of the Menard. We had smoke coming out of the right rear of the Menard as it came through that corner. Now, that could have been from the debris before, Paul, because I don't see any smoke down the back straightaway.
Michael Andretti moving inside of Scott Goodyear. The fight is for second place.
I asked Scott if he figured he'd have to go after the Menards, even though it's thought that the Menards might not finish the race. He said, yeah, I got to race them no matter what, so that's what we're seeing happen here.
So in just one lap, Scott Goodyear drops back into third place. Michael Andretti comes forward, and Scott Brayton is now closing on Goodyear. There's Goodyear.
I think Michael's deal on being able to get Goodyear with just vast experience. These things are like a flywheel. You really need about a lap to get these cars all wound up. Michael got to run at Goodyear.
We're watching now as Scott Brayton begins to close on Scott Goodyear. There is Scott Goodyear, the left of your screen, the bright yellow and red car. There is Brayton. Brayton was the pole sitter, and they are now locked in a battle, despite the fact that Goodyear dominated the race right at the start. But boy, when they restarted it, Arie Luyendyk and Michael Andretti got around. This is the fourth time in 6 years that Arie Luyendyk has led the Indy 500. There he is with Michael Andretti closing in.
Now let's also try to remember now that the weather has been a big factor here. Fernandez is in the pits right there. And I started to say the weather is a big factor. Right now the weather is a whole bunch better. I can see them from my vantage point, but the drivers are pushing hard early on because if the race were to end after halfway, they must be as near the front as they can, possibly winning.
Well, Bobby, you won a range-shortened race here. What would be the strategy of all these teams with the potential of weather?
Flat out for right now, Paul, believe me.
All right, let's go to the pits. Derry Punch.
Actually, we're back in the garage area. We're able to walk away. Eddie, what happened out there on the first lap?
I was on the outside of Stan, and I was already starting to look at corner 2, and he just turned sharp right. It almost as if something either broke in his car or somebody pushed him. He turned sharp right. He hit me, and then he hit the wall, and he had a big impact,
You've been in the care center. Any updates on anybody else? She's talked to any other drivers in there?
We're all in different units there. You don't. I just saw the workers taking Stan out of the car, the track, and he had a big hit.
Obviously, Eddie Cheever okay, but very upset about and worried about some of the fellow drivers. Paul?
On board with Michael Andretti as he chases the leader just ahead, Arie Luyendyk, 12 laps into the record book. They turned the last one at just over 218 miles an hour. Michael Andretti thus far has had the fastest lap, his quickest at 218.6.
Arie Luyendyk, in addition to his tremendous victory, of course, several years ago, also has the distinction of having gone past the 100-lap mark in every 500 he's ever run. Arie Luyendyk can baby a car, and if there's one that might need it, it's this Menard.
So Arie Luyendyk out in front. An update from Jack Arute.
Well, Paul, you know, Luyendyk has one of those stock block Menards that needs 55 inches of boost. According to Larry Curry, they are not getting a full 55 inches of boost at this time. They're a little bit afraid of trying to adjust because of the pop-off valve that could literally drop 15 to 50 horsepower off the engine. They are playing it very conservatively. Larry says even if we have to give up the lead, we're not going to try and run it. Right now, they're at about 52.4 in terms of boost.
But as we watch them come to